Like, I'm just happy to be asked.
Oh, good.
I'm happy to be included.
All right, we're live. So welcome to our virtual event with Maisey Yates, Michelle Major, and Naima Simone. And Michelle, you can take it away.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for being here with us. And I'm going to be putting my glasses on and off because I'm turning 50 in a couple of weeks, and that's just what happens when you're there. So we are really excited to have you here to talk about, we all have books that have recently come out or in the spring come out. So I think this will be a really fun conversation. And please, as we're going through, I have some questions that people have submitted early or wanted to hear us talk about. But if there's anything that anybody who's out there wants to have us cover, or just general author questions that are burning in your mind, please throw it into the chat. But so why don't, Maisey, we'll start with you. Introduce yourself and your most recent book, which we all probably lose track of because you are so amazingly prolific. So kudos to you.
Yeah, I'm Maisey Yates. I write Cowboys and Harlequin Presents and women's fiction, all for Harlequin right now. My recent release that just came out last week is The Heartbreaker of Echo Pass, and I actually remembered to sit it next to me for this Zoom, which I always forget. I was like, I put it out early so that I would remember. And yeah, that's me.
Great. Naima, how about you?
My name is Naima Simone, and I write contemporary romance, the hot contemporary romance. I write for Desire, and I'm recently writing for HQN, and I just had a small town romance come out with HQN called The Road the Rose Bend, and it's the first book in the Rose Bend series. I did not remember to put the book next to me, but oh wait, look. Can you see the cover on the wall? I don't know. But like I had the canvas. Okay, wait. Like, look.
Oh yeah, that is perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
It's so beautiful.
That is so awful.
It's a beautiful cover.
That's me. Thank you.
Well, okay, so now I'm really embarrassed because I'm Michelle Major. I not only forgot to put the book next to my desk, but I don't have anything that I can grab. But I also write for both HQN and Special Edition at Harlequin. And my latest is Wildflower Season, which is the first in the Carolina Girls series, but a continuation of my Magnolia Sisters series. So it's kind of a spin-off of there. And it does have a really beautiful cover with this bike and flowers. And so just imagine how lovely it is in your mind. So, but so one thing, so there are a couple things, all of us, since we mentioned, we do write both the shorter category and single title and women's fiction for Maisey. How does that process, you guys, differ for you for each of those? And do you tend to go back and forth, or does it just depend on the publishing schedule? Naima, you start with that one.
Really? Oh, okay. All right.
No pressure.
Yeah, none at all. Right. Well, this was last year I started writing my first single title. And so I've been writing category for years. And so it was like a bit of a challenge, like going from, 50 to 60K books to like 100, like that first book was like 100K before they cut it down some. And so like I had all this space like to broaden this world. And I was like, really? Okay. So that was kind of liberating, like to be able to have so much more word count, like double the word count to write. So that was really great to be able to write a bigger world, more characters, a bigger plot, Um,
And I'm curious, is the road to Rose Bend,
yes.
isn't it does it as hot as the categories? Because I know you're pretty hot.
Yeah, and like, listen, like I tell people, don't let the cover bridge fool you on that cover. Yeah, it has a slower burn. That slow burn nearly killed me, but it has a slower burn. But when it gets to those parts, yeah. And then my hero has kind of a dirty mouth, which I mean, I just love a dirty talking hero. So yeah, so it is once it gets to those parts, it's still steamy. Yeah, but so that was the same. It's still what I love to write, which is, steamier romances and emotional romances. So that was still all the same, but writing, being able to just expound on those, go more in depth into the story was really great. As with category, I had to, I had to keep it more streamlined and concise and get it, get the story way more focused on the hero and the heroine in the category. So it was great. I'm on the third book now. So it's just been really great experience.
That's great. It's great. And what about you, Maisey?
I think for me, it's so funny because I've been doing it. I remember being really scared, actually, like going from, because I started with category as well. And I didn't think that I could write longer than that. And I was really afraid of that. And I was afraid that if I did it, I wouldn't be able to go back to writing short. And what I found is that's not true. Like I always say, creativity is a muscle, and the more you work it out, the more in shape it is. So you just kind of learn and expand and grow with these things. And so for me, it's kind of like, I guess it's intuitive at this point. It's like, I know if I'm going to write a presents, then, and what I love about presents is that it's not connected to all these other worlds, because like you, Michelle, I have spinoffs. So it's like, when you get into the Cowboys, it's like, I've got Copper Ridge, and that spins off into Gold Valley, but they also spin off into the Desire miniseries as well. And then Gold Valley now has a spin-off in Desire also.
Really?
So they vaguely connect to each other.
Wow.
And it's like so much to keep track of. Like the world is so big over there in Cowboy Land. And then sometimes I'm like, we can do presents, and he's just a prince, and I just made this kingdom up, and he has no friends and no family. I don't have to keep track of anything but his angst. And so that's like a vacation, because it's not like series Bibles and ages and eye colors and all that kind of family drama math. And then the women's fictions are standalone also, so that's kind of nice also. So so it's like they're nice vacations from each other, actually.
Is it hard to go from, I mean, I was going to ask if it's hard to go from Cowboys to Chic, to like a Chic or a Prince, but then I'm thinking they're all sort of alpha in their own way.
Yes. I actually, I think, because people think they are so different, and I'm like, yeah, kind of, but like also none of them are like 9 to 5 guys. They're all like guys who live by their own set of rules. You have the land that is your like fake kingdom, or you have the land that is your ranch. But like, yeah, it's like they're all alpha guys that kind of play by their own rules. And I think the cowboy guys, especially in like the HQN books, have to be a little more real world.
Right.
Just because like they're not gonna like kidnap somebody without having, like, then you're gonna see her like dad at the coffee shop the next day, and you're like,
dang.
Whereas like I think the prince can get away with a little kidnapping out. So it's just light kidnap. So it's like it's a higher fantasy version of that. But yeah, I think they're kind of similar in that way, but also then the books are so different that it's actually so easy to keep it. I feel like I get in a presents tone too. I'm like, then it gets very dramatic, and like kind of otherworldly.
I love it. I actually read historical romance is sort of my like candy that I read, and I think, oh, I wish I could write this, because I mean there are the social rules, but there aren't the like cultural current rule. Like the men can kind of, like you said, get away with a little kidnapping, or
contemporary historical. It's like historical without the research, and like historical is my candy as well. So
Mine
I
too.
totally feel that. I'm like, it's just such a good escape.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I feel like for me, the different word count, it doesn't always happen this way, but I prefer to go back and forth because at this point, it's like the special editions are sort of a palate cleanser for me, like where I can just focus on the couple and then, you know, all the big stuff that happens in the longer books. I love it when I'm writing it because I really like being able to explore, you know, more of their relationships with their friends and their family and the things that you can't sometimes do when you're constrained by the word count. But then on the other end, yeah, I mean, one of my favorite special editions was the sort of, you know, classic like Snowbound on the Mountain when they were just together, like just the two of them, and I didn't have to worry about all the other people to keep track of. So not that I don't love details in series Bibles and all of that, but really when you're in the writing thing, I just love being swept away in this story as well. So
Can I ask y'all a question?
yeah.
Like, when you after you wrote your first single title, did you have like a moment? Because like with you, like you, Maisey, when I like wrote my first single title, it was kind of scary going for like, actually I had I call it an identity crisis because I was like, oh my God, am I doing this right? You know, and after I finished it, when I started the second book, it was almost like writing my sophomore book. And I wonder if it was like that for you guys, like writing almost your sophomore book with your second single title. Like you went in like, okay, the first book was out the way, but now it's like, you know, remember when you were first published and you had to write that second book and you had kind of like that fear, is it going to be as good as the first? Am I going to nail it like the first? Am I doing it right? You know, like, did you feel that? Because I felt that. I went through that.
I think what I've found is that every time I try something new, I absolutely feel brand new again. Like it does feel a little like starting over. And I think I had kind of an interesting, I mean, I'm not that it's a unique experience, but because I sold to Harlequin through Slush, my wait time was very long to hear back. So I worked with an editor for like 24 months on my first manuscript.
Wow.
And in that time, I wrote like 13 other manuscripts while I was waiting. So like, I could write another book, you know, whether or not it would be good. And then I had kind of gone through the paces of rewriting because I had to like rewrite the first book a bunch of times in between that to sell it. And so I don't know that I had that like classic like second book experience because I had books finished when I first sold, but I have definitely like felt that of like, I feel brand new over here every time. And I will go, and what I would do is go pick up the first one. And I just did this with my women's fiction. Like I'd written 100 books and started writing women's fiction.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know how to do this. And then I started writing the second one and I like went back and read parts of the first one to be like, well, I guess I did this once. So I think I can do it again. So like, yeah, I think we're describing a similar feeling. It's that
right,
like,
right.
like virgin thing.
Who'd have thought we could ever say that?
Right. I do it on every book. I never believe that I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This is going to be the one where they find out that I'm a fraud or that I've used up all my creativity. It's just gone now. And I can't get into like it. The blank page is really terrifying to me until I get to about chapter 3. And then I'm like, oh God, okay, wait, now I remember how this works. So.
I feel so close to y'all right now.
Okay, so we have a couple of questions. Do you have any writing rituals?
Ooh, I don't really, other than coffee and, oh, well, I will say like, well, coffee is a must, but I was going to say no, but I actually do. I plan out my character, my hero and my heroine to a T before I start the book. I write out who they are, what they do, all their quirks, all their issues, flaws, what they need to overcome. I know them backwards and forwards before I ever start the book. So that's my ritual. So even if I don't know the plot yet, it's kind of like the plot kind of evolves from my characters, because even when I'm writing the book, if I have one of those moments where the story just kind of turns from my synopsis, I know my characters so well that I know what they will do because I just characterize the heck out of them before I start the book. So yeah, that's my ritual.
What about you, Maisey?
Boy, I wish. I think I do that. And then I'm like, nope. I miss the actual conflict. My favorite is when I discover why he can't love, like on Presents at like 45,000 words. The books are supposed to be 50,000 words. And I'm like, oh, that's why. Okay. Well, now I've got to go back and like put that in there. I feel like every book kind of comes together really differently for me. And so the process is really different. And like sometimes I just jump in, and sometimes I've got Pinterest boards and playlists, and like sometimes like don't tell anyone, except I always tell people during Zooms, my romances like have no plot. It's just people talking in different places and having sex and working out their issues. And it's like they fix a fence sometimes in between. And so if you like emotional issues, I'm for you, with a cowboy hat or a suit. But like the women's fictions have like more sometimes, now I'm getting into doing more of a like mystery or like kind of plot with them sometimes. And I'm like, that's interesting. And I kind of have to think about that for longer. So it's like, I'll settle on actually what I'm going to do for those earlier and kind of fiddle with ideas, like, and just drop them in a folder, like as I go. So I find that everything for me is really different. Just kind of depending on the book and what's happening with my life, or if I had a really great opening scene in my head, and then I'll like sit down and write that or whatever. So it's kind of, it's fluid. But coffee is a must.
Yeah.
A lot of it today.
Coffee is a must. That's what I don't have my book, but I do have my coffee warmer that I keep next
The important thing.
So right, the key stuff is there. So I always do a Pinterest board because I'm so visual that and I have to, so I do the Pinterest, but then I have to print out the pictures in color. And it's embarrassing to admit, but like write down their vitals, like he's this tall, he has this color eyes, because I can be writing an entire book and then I get to the, midway through, I'm like, what did he look like again? So yeah, I do. That's sort of my pre-ritual is that part. And I always pick out one song of the book, because then when I get stuck on the emotional parts about 2/3 of the way through, it's like the song I listen to over and over again. It drives my family crazy, but it's like just sort of like a meditative thing. It gets me in that place.
Yeah. So. I'm always so mad when I can't find a song.
Right?
I do the same thing where it's like for certain parts of the book, I'll play the same one a lot. And for the one that's out now, it was Rainbow by Casey Musgraves, and I listened to it over and over and over in the car, and like over and over and over. And like I was listening to it today, and I was like, oh, it still makes me like want to cry for my poor hero. But like, so yeah, and then it'll help me like sometimes solve the emotional or get in the groove, I guess, and like find the tone. And so I always think sometimes I struggle more with the book because I couldn't find the song.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys a little like, I mean, I think, you get these songs that are perfect. So I've never heard of this person. It's a British guy called The Beach. And there's this song called Bridge Back to Your Heart. And I feel like I'm like, oh my God, this could be my song for almost every second chance book I write, which I write a lot of them. That's one of my favorite things. So if you're looking for a song, that's just sort of one to check out.
Literally wrote it down.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I'm getting a pin down. I'm like, okay, The Beach.
The Beach. He's this sort of like Ed Sheeran-ish kind of like guitar guy. So it worked for me. So maybe it would work for one of you. So there's another question in the chat. Do you keep series Bibles in your other books or only the category books? I it is not one of my strong suits is a series Bible. So I found a really nice person to do one for me. And I am happy to pay her for that because it is very helpful. And actually with the Carolina Girls and the Magnolia Sisters series, I do a companion novella for each book. And so when she sent me the first series Bible, there was the mention of a secondary character who was a friend of and I was like, who is that? I have no memory of that person, but he became the hero of one of the novellas because I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he'll work. So I think a series Bible is really important, but what about you guys?
I like to wait until readers email me to tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, thanks. Now I know. I'm kidding. They do email me to tell me that. No, I always have like grand ambitions of a series Bible, and then I quit using it and it all goes out the window, and like my organization is suspect. So like the further I get into that, and I started this new series and I was like, I have to do a better job keeping track of this because I have to plan everybody out from the beginning, because it's like a ranch with 4 families and the ranch is the town. I usually center it around a town. So it's like, there's other ranches and they're vaguely off in the distance, but now it's like, they all live on this ranch and they all went to like 1-room schoolhouses together. So it's like, I have to know who everybody is, which I never do. And it's like, as you guys know, it's like years in advance. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to write the rest of these books for, 3 years. So it's like, I am actually keeping a notebook, but it's very chicken scratchy. I'm just not, I'm not a perfectionist. I would like to be. It seems like it would be neat, but I'm much more haphazard than that. And I really don't keep that stuff for category at all.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so glad you said that. Because I am the worst.
We'll have to compete for that.
I hear people talk about series Bibles, and when this question come up, I just usually just sit back like this and hope nobody comes to me. I'm like the worst. As far as like the category books, yeah, I don't do it. Like I'll just open up like if I like have a series. When I'm writing the next book in a series, I'll just open up the previous book and just hit search and go through and find who I need. What color was his eyes or something like that. But with the Rose Ben series, being like, because there's like 7 kids in this family, yeah, I had to like, but I'm like you, Maisey, like I have a notebook and I just wrote down their names and their ages and their prospective like occupations and when they were born or something. But it's very like my handwriting, I could be a doctor in another life. And sorry, I didn't mean to offend all those doctors, but but it's very like, yeah.
Very, very organized. You
might have me. That's it. That's me. That's me. I lose that notebook.
Here's another lead-in question then, which I don't know if any of us can answer really well. Are you an author who plans, and how is your writing implemented with your planning life?
Like planning, like a planner? I wonder if
it could be, yes.
I have a planner, and I'm not one of those people that posts their spread on the internet, because my planner is full of chicken scratch. And, things like, don't forget, like your kid has a Zoom with someone tomorrow, and like, don't forget that, because mine is all like, I get really angry when something surprises me. Like, I don't want to be planning the whole day. Like, I think this is an introvert thing. And like, the most excited I ever was when we got, that first stay-at-home order and I got to cancel everything. Like for a while, that was a novelty. I was like, I don't have to go anywhere. Nothing's going to interrupt my writing. because like I'll sit there all day and be like, I have an appointment in like 3 hours. That ruins everything. I can't do anything. I can't do anything because I have to go out in 4 hours. So,
Oh my God.
so I like to have I like to have all my expectations laid out before me for the week, because otherwise I'm like, well, something came up and everything's ruined. So,
Are you sure you're not my twin? I mean, sure.
so I mean, I have a planner, but most of that is for managing my expectations for the week. And then I do keep like I know how many words I need to write every day or every week, depending on where I'm at with a book, to kind of stay on target. And that is what I use it for.
Like, I have a planner and I love my planner. I have stickers. Like, yeah, my daughter for my birthday, she gets me, and she brought me a bucket load of Lord of the Rings stickers. So
no, we are twins. Okay, we're gonna.
I mean, I'm gonna kick my real twin to the side. Okay. And so I like stickers with my planner, and I'll put down like appointments, and I do, and I have like, I'll put down my word count. But then I'm so horrible that sometimes I'll be like, okay, yeah, something to come through on my email, and I'm like, yeah, okay, put that down in your planner. I'm going to do that in 5 minutes, and then I'll go do something else, and I'll forget to put it down in my planner. But I love my planner, so yeah, I have a planner. I don't know if I am a planner, but I have a planner and I love it, and I love the stickers. I don't know if that answers your question.
I think it does. I have a planner. I'm a list crosser offer. So the things that are in my planner are like shower, because I like to be able to cross something off because it gives me a big feeling of accomplishment. Like, I've showered today, yay me. So.
But listen, that's a legit thing that needs to be crossed off.
It is. I mean, when you're at home writing, like sometimes that can fall by the wayside for sure.
When you're on deadline.
Yes.
Well, and so here's my question to both of you. Don't you find, I mean, this is me, this is maybe revealing, but I'm like, actually like 90% of my success level is tricking myself with things like that.
Right.
Cross something off the list, even if it's a shower, and you're like, well, I feel accomplished now, so I'm going to get more done. Or like, just, I find that the level at which I can like trick myself into doing things is like,
yes. Well, and in my planner, I do my word counts in 500 word increments, because
I do that sometimes.
Yeah, just, you know, I have to feel like I can cross. If I see 3,000 words or some crazy thing, if I'm on deadline, that is like too demotivating for me. So
I write every day with another author, and we, from 10 to 5, we do word challenge, and we do, word challenges, 1K an hour. And I do not always reach that at all, especially if I'm like just starting a book out, because like it's so much slower for me when I start out. But it's a goal, and it really motivates me. And yes, that does trick me into thinking, okay, I need to get 1K.
Yeah.
I'm cool with 500.
okay.
But yeah, if I can cross something off, I feel so productive and proud of myself. I give myself.
I might even do something like get up and empty the dishwasher, and then later write that on my planner.
Oh, I totally do that. But look what all I did.
Yeah, exactly.
And I crossed it off.
And do you guys? So another question: do you write by hand or computer?
Like in the
longhand, or how do you draft?
Oh, hand, like the synopsis.
Yeah, like you longhand.
Oh, well, the characterization, I definitely do longhand. Now, the synopsis, oh, I do both. Okay, let me put it this way. I do both longhand, but then when I have to turn in the synopsis, I type it, of course. But I actually do both longhand because I think better when I'm writing.
That's interesting.
I do all my, I was talking to my editor about revisions today. There's a coffee ring on there, and now it says the beach. And so I do all that, and like all my character stuff, and like I glue little pictures into my notebook and stuff because I'm also visual. So that all stuff I do by hand. And I think that's that planner thing, right? Like I don't like a digital calendar because it'll go away and disappear and it won't be in my brain anymore. And so like it serves the same purpose as that like physical planner. I have a real thing that's there in front of me that I'm looking at, but I actually dictate. All of my drafting is dictation, and but I revise like just on the computer. Like I don't dictate revisions unless I have to do a new scene. But so yeah, I'm kind of a mix of different things. Certain things I want to commit to memory by writing out. But yeah, I dictate so that I'm not like sitting in front of the computer.
I actually I started dictating, I think 3 books ago, and it was like mid-pandemic, and I was past the point of like, you know, I couldn't meet my writing friends in a coffee shop. Like I was just here, as were my children doing school and my husband often. And I was struggling a little bit. And it was a post Megan Crane did about dictating. And I was like, okay, I'm going to put my AirPod in and I'm just going to try it. And so now I really do a mix, and it helped my carpal tunnel a lot too. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of benefits to it. It's, I taught Megan to dictate.
There you go. Well, thank you.
No, and she, I think she and I have talked about this a lot. I didn't teach her how, but I was the person she knew that did it. And she was in kind of a deadline crisis. I was in a physical crisis. Like mine was a physical thing. And then I found that there have been many other benefits to it. But she was in that like emotional like crash space. And I was like, I really do find that you don't learn to dictate unless you're desperate.
Yes, that's what
hard. Much like starting a new subgenre or a new length of book, it's like learning to type in school all over again. You're like slow at first and it's not fun to learn a new thing. So I think you kind of have to need it. And now I wouldn't go back. I've been doing it for like 7 years.
You do it through Word, or how do you?
I do it I use Dragon, and I dictate into Word, but I have a main document that I paste it into. I dictate in kind of small chunks because it's an unwieldy program. So I do like a few thousand at a time in a Word document and then paste it over into my big one and theoretically do my corrections every day, but sometimes don't, and then leave myself with like half a book that I haven't read through, and it's a disaster and I hate everything. So it just depends on what's going on. Like dictation really changed my process in the sense that I do a lot of fast drafting now, where it's like just get it down and then ready it up. But it's been very useful because I'll drive and dictate, and because I used to like go for a drive or something to clear my head, and now I'll just like talk out the book, and yeah, I found that to be really helpful.
Wow, I've never considered doing that.
I think, I mean, as Maisey said, I did it because I got desperate, and then I saw Megan's post and I was like, okay, I have to do something to get this book, you know, jump started again. And yeah, it was really scary for me because it was like a different thing in a different way of editing than once I go back in it. But I love the flexibility of it and how you can do it when you're driving, or, you know, I'll just go for a walk with the dogs and just wherever, you know, it just helps change things up a little bit. So
yeah, I love that about it too. Like and then just like, even like I'll pace around, and I put my noise canceling headphones on with music playing so I can't hear myself. And I'll just like walk around my office, and then I'm not like sitting here, and it's really helped my like shoulders and neck and stuff too. Like it's helpful for a lot of things I didn't even consider. Plus my attention span sucks. So if I'm sitting at the computer, I'm like squirrel. I'm like doing all this other things. And like, so if I'm like not sitting in front of the computer and not looking at my words, I get a lot more done a lot faster, and it can be kind of a mess to clean up because it doesn't always hear me right. And it really teaches you what you pronounce funny. Like apparently I don't say that word very well consistently.
It's taught me that I mumble a lot.
Yeah.
I really mumble.
I have a bit of a lisp. Like, oh, I say my S's a bit intensely, screw things up. But yeah, it's so it's informative. You're like, I can see how that came out that way. Actually, it's like that game Mad Gab.
Yeah.
You're like reading it out loud, like, what did I say? What? But yeah, no, it's fun. Like it's it really opens a lot of things up in terms of, like you said, like walking outside or like kind of driving, or so it's kind of neat.
It is neat. Okay, so we have a lot of questions. I have one thing I wanted to cover kind of about the books, because I noticed we all in these most recent books have widowers. So I'm curious, what's your if you have a favorite type of hero to write? And obviously we all go for sort of the emotional jugular with the wounded hero, but what's your preferred cup of emotional baggage, so to speak?
I do like widower. Go ahead.
Oh, you go first.
No, I like a widower. I write them often. I wrote a virgin widower once. I like them broken.
Wait. How do you do a virgin widower?
Too.
How does that happen?
Wow.
Well, the first one was like a Twitter dare, because people were talking about there's all these virgin widows in historicals, but you never see a virgin widower. And I was like, challenge accepted.
Idea.
I feel like you got to write a book on a dare every once in a while. No, but like both of them, I use like a medical thing, like and like they're so. I always feel like the thing about virgin heroes is I think they can be so hot, because I'm like, alpha heroes are going to do exactly what they set their mind to, and it's all about control. So I'm like, so if he's like taking care of, I think the first one, his wife like was critically injured in an accident, and so he like was married to her like on their honeymoon, and they waited or something because they were like really young, and then I did my cowboy one, who was a virgin widower. His well, I'm sorry, I'm like going way off topic, but this is like, I think I write sad heroes because you read sad news stories, and I always ask myself, like, what is going to happen to this person, and how do they move on, and how do they heal? And I feel like writing romance is the control freak's answer to living in a world you can't control. So you're like, how do I fix all these things that break my heart? And you read all these stories all the time about like high school sweethearts that marry when one of them is terminally ill. And that was my cowboy hero. And so he wasn't able to be with her that way, but he just was in love with her. And like, I loved writing that he chose to do that. And he was kind of, so I love like an honorable wounded.
It's so honorable. That's what I was saying.
Oh my gosh. Which book is this?
That's a Tall Dark Cowboy Christmas.
Okay, because I'm about to go buy it.
He's a mess.
I love, okay, you just stole my you just gave my answer, because I mean, I love a mess hero to read and to write. Wait a minute, Tall Dark Cowboy Christmas. Okay, all right, I'm about to go get that after this. Okay. Okay, well,
like messy hero too.
I do. I mean, I love to read them. I love the wounded hero. I mean, the tortured hero, of course, the alpha hero, dominant, but not always like in the expected way, you know, because I love a cinnamon roll hero as well. But I mean, I love tortured, wounded heroes, because I love to see them come to the other side by love, by you know, finding that perfect woman, by, you know, healing, redemption, whatever he needs. I just love seeing him come to the other side. And that is the journey of that is so fulfilling to read and to write. And that is, to me, is just like, and seeing romance do it, love redeem him or give him that joy, that healing. It's just like, that's the perfect romance to me. And so I love to read it. And so of course I love to write it.
Yeah, I do too. I love to write. I'm writing a single dad right now, which I always, you know, I like the single dad, or I've written heroes that are taking care of their grandma, something that sort of softens them in some way. I like to make a hero. I always think I like to make the heroine step into her power and the hero step into his vulnerability. It's
Yeah,
Good.
that's
Good.
such a good way of saying that.
Yeah.
that's yeah. And I feel like for readers, that's so I have this funny so my husband and I will be married 20 years this year, and he's kind of like this big football playing alpha guy. And when we were first dating, we went on a camping trip over Memorial Day, and we were both from Ohio. We were in Colorado. We were so stupid. We thought, oh yeah, we just, it's summer, it's Memorial Day. And we got caught in a huge snowstorm up in Aspen, and we had this horrible tent. We were wet and freezing. We're like trying to put it together, and I was like, oh my God, I'm a little scared. And he's like, yeah, me too. And I was like, oh, I think I still remember that as I think I started to fall in love with him right there, because he wasn't like, oh, little lady, I gotcha. I mean, he was like, yeah, we're in some deep crap right here. So that's I like to push a hero to get to that point. So
What a great story.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't like me telling it, but he's like, no, I didn't do that.
No, I had it.
Yeah, I had it. So, okay, wait, there's another, okay, so 2 maybe quick questions. What are you currently reading, and do you have a preferred time to write?
Oh, I got to think about that. What am I currently reading? Oh, I have my Kindle right here. Let me tell you what I'm currently reading. Oh, I am currently reading, I'm kind of a book hoe. So like my mother used to say, well, my mother called me a book whore because she read one book at one time and could not understand how I could read 3 at one time. But I'm a serious mood reader. So I'm reading Carnal Urges by J.T. Geisinger. Oh, I just love her. I'm also reading Rule Breaker by Clara Contreras. And yeah, I think those are the only 2 I'm reading right now. And what was the other one? What was the other
time to write? Do you have a special?
Oh.
You said you write the 10 to 5. Is that?
Yeah, I have to write in the morning. I used to be, when I was working a full-time job, I used to write, during lunch and after work, and I was a night owl. Now, it seems like once 6 o'clock hits, I shut down. I get narcoleptic. So now it's like I'm such a morning writer. I write from 10 to 5 every day.
Nice. That's impressive. 10 to 5. That is a big stretch of time.
It helps with the challenges because it keeps me honest. Now, I'm not saying I always I don't drift sometimes, because I do drift sometimes, but it pretty much keeps me honest. It keeps me more disciplined than I have been in the past.
That's good. What about you, Maisey?
So I am always reading. I only read one book at a time, but I am always reading whatever Nicole Helm, Megan Crane / Caitlin Cruz, and Jackie Ashenden are working on. So I have written 2 anthologies with them, and they're kind of my writing besties who became my real life besties. We met each other through, I've known Jackie since before either of us were published, and she lives in New Zealand and I live in Oregon, and we met on Harlequin's writing boards now 12 years ago, and we've been reading each other's stuff ever since, and now we're all published. So we're not really critique partners. We're just kind of yeah, keep going.
Right.
Or Megan's always I know when Maisey likes the book, she's Nicole will highlight things and be this is a great line, and this is great. She's Maisey goes, he's hot. I'm not an editor. I don't know. All I know is if I think he's hot or not. That's all I know. So so I'm always reading something by them. I just finished Megan's Presents that she just turned in yesterday, and I love it. And then I'm about to start The Ultimate Betrayal by Kat Martin, which is not my usual wheelhouse because that's romantic suspense, and I don't read a lot of that, but I am part of and a leader of a romance book club at a local independent bookstore. So that has expanded my romance reading a lot because I am a historical romance reader. So basically anytime you see historical romance on our little bookstore book club list, that's me. I chose it. And when you see like Lawman by Kristen Ashley and like Suspense stuff, Megan chose it. And I'm always like, ooh, you're pushing me. We did Heart of Blood and Ashes by Millivane, and that was very different for me. And did like the Eternal Highlander, which is an anthology with like Highlander vampires, and I actually thought that was like so fun. So we do a bunch of different stuff in that book club, and it has really pushed me to try new things and like different subgenres that I don't normally read. So I'm starting that next.
Great. And what's your preferred writing time?
Oh, I have like I work from 9 to 5, or really when I get up, I start kind of doing my email and fiddling things. I work with an editor in the UK, and she does all my books now because my HQN editor left Harlequin. And so because I was working already with an editor in England for my presents, we just moved all that over there. So she's only in the office until 9 a.m. my time.
Oh, wow.
So I get up and start dealing with her. She's wonderful. Like, but we have to talk pretty early. Like today we talked at 7 a.m. my time. So if we're going to interact, it's got to be early. So I've got to get up, see my email, see if Flo needs anything, or like I have a cover to look at or whatever. So all my business takes place in the first part of the day.
Interesting.
And then I try to write like after that. So there's like that's what I try to do. I have a kid knocking on my door, so you can move on to the next question. I'll mute myself.
You're good. So I am currently reading The People We Meet on Vacation, because I don't have my Kindle in front of me. And I'm blanking on her name right now. And it's so good. It's the woman who wrote Beach Read, which was also so good. Emily Henry. Thank you. So I'm reading that, which is good. And then I just finished from my book club, and I am in a book club with women who I dearly love, but they're all super, like we read, I mean, it makes the Oprah book club look like the Mickey Mouse Club in emotional lightness. I'm always like, oh God, really another one like this? So, but we're reading The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna, who like just taught me so much about the Dust Bowl that I had no idea about. And it's a really hard book to read. And then I was finishing it on the plane back from, I was just in Las Vegas, bawling my eyes out. So, I mean, she is extremely gifted and amazing, and the details were great. But then, and I also just finished a historical last night. Gosh, and I'm like spacing on names, and because I put them on my Kindle, it's Bethany something, but it was really good too. And I just read about it actually on a Facebook in a group I'm in. Somebody recommended it. So I feel like with historicals, like my favorite historical romance writers don't put out enough books quickly enough for me. So I'm always trying to expand that. So
yeah, I have favorites too. And I'm just like, I feel so hypocritical, like asking them like, when's the next one? Like, I feel like such a hypocrite, but yeah, I'm just fiending for their books, like Grace Calloway and Kerrigan Byrne and like Stacey.
Oh, I love Kerrigan Byrne.
Oh man, I'm like,
they're like
an addict when it comes to her. Talk about tortured heroes. I'm like, oh gosh, she's amazing.
Yes. So, and I don't know what it is, because I feel like contemporary, maybe it's the research, contemporary writers, we pump them out, but that's how I feel about Sarah McLean. And I was so sure her book was coming out at the end of June, and I like,
no, it's August.
It's August, and I pre-ordered. I was like, why isn't this showing up on my Kindle? And there's something wrong with Amazon. And I'm like,
that book. I'm stalking it and counting down the days.
Yes, Bombshell. That's what it's going to be. So I feel the same way. But and I'm a morning writer too, and I feel like mean, if I'm on deadline, I'll write whatever. My husband leaves the house at about 5:20 every morning. So I've kind of trained myself to get up with him and say goodbye and then just get going. And my son just graduated high school, and it was, having him do most of his senior year from home.
Oh,
I did this thing where I tried to like coordinate my writing to when I knew my kids had to be online for classes, because it was that thing of like, oh my gosh, people say you blink and then they're gone. And I'm like, I want to be checking email or whatever when you're having lunch and just hang out with you, because you're going to college 9 hours away and I can't take it. So
I'm so sorry.
I
Just at a moment.
it is. It is a moment, but he did pick a school, not because of this, but he picked a school that is a direct flight from Colorado Springs, which is hard to do. So I appreciate that I feel like I can get to it. So what do you think? One of the questions, what's the best and the most challenging part of being a writer?
For me, the answer would be the same to both of those. Writing from home, like it's the best part of being a writer, and it's the most challenging part of being a writer, because first of all, I don't have to wear a bra. I don't have to do all this. I get to wear pajamas every day. I just get to roll out and just grab the computer and write. I mean, it's just great. And I'm an introvert, so I don't have to leave and people. So it's wonderful. But on the other hand, I can get distracted, like discipline in myself. To put yourself in front of the computer, not get distracted, not turn on the TV and watch Steve Wilkos for an hour when you need to be writing that hour. So it's also the most challenging part. So, but yeah, that staying home.
What about you, Maisey?
I think the most challenging part, I mean, I think, yeah, it's self-directed. So that is always going to be, but I figured that out more or less over the years, even though sometimes I'm like, well, I'm writing, I'm not disciplined enough to spread it out throughout the day. So often what I'm doing is like crashing through my word count in the last hour of the day. It's my favorite thing to do. I'm like, well, dinner's, I have to get up and make dinner. So I guess I'm writing 5,000 words now. But then I always think like, that's when I was ready to start. So what are you going to do? But I'm like, I always tell myself they always get done. Books always get done. So calm down. So I mean, there's that, but I mean, that's also what I love, is being, able to be by myself all day, and I get to make my own schedule, and it works around my kids, and it works around, I want to take a day off today because I want to go hang out in a coffee shop with Megan Crane. And that's, now I can do that again, finally. And so I love that part of it. And I would say all the challenging stuff for me is all the stuff that's not writing. It's like some days get filled up with that, like you're in a discussion about a cover, or you're, going back and forth on, something else. You've got like business stuff to do. And I'm like, or like social media or whatever. I'm like, I'm a writer because I like to be by myself making up stories. And so I love to and I like to talk to people actually in controlled environments. Like this stuff is really fun for me, but like thinking about what to post on Facebook or something,
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God, it's so painful.
So like, I think it's all the not writing stuff. Cause I'm like, I became a writer because I like to be a writer. And then there's like this other stuff you have to do sometimes that it's like, oh, and then you still have to remember that writing is the priority,
Mhm.
And not all the other things that can kind of fill up your day.
I agree with all of that. I also think I don't know, this is probably me needing to be a more generous person with the non-writing people in my life, but I feel like there's a general, like, when you're putting out books, people are like, oh my gosh, that's amazing that you do that. But there isn't, then it's like, well, but I have a regular job, so you can take on all of this other stuff that I can't do, or, what? And I sort of like, how do you think these things get done? They don't just magically poof, and the whole, like running a business part of it is
Flexibility is a blessing and a curse, isn't it?
it is.
When you know that you can bend,
Right.
it's difficult to not bend yourself too many times.
Right.
And I think that's especially hard when it is dealing with family stuff because you love your family. And you're like, well, I can. Like, I don't have a schedule that I have to ask my boss for time off. You know, like I'm my boss, but I'm also no one can cover my shift.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's the perfect way to put it.
It is. And that was a conversation when the pandemic started. I eventually like sat my family down and I said, you guys, I'm not sure what you think I do here all day, but it is work. So I have to, you know, I'm glad you're home, and I'm glad, you know, back at that point, like school was really not a thing, and my husband worked in the hospital and it got shut down. And I was like, my stuff didn't get shut down. Nothing got shut down. So that's good. How do you manage? I mean, this is just me being curious because I manage it very badly, but how do you manage social media?
I don't sometimes. I mean, like, honestly, I'll go like a week and be like, oh, I guess I have a Facebook. I should post something on it. I don't care about it. And I mean that in like not a mean or dismissive way, but I'm just like, it's not what I'm here to do. So if I don't have something to say, I'm not gonna say it. Like, it's not, I just don't worry about it that much, I guess. It's like, I used to kind of enjoy it more and find it conversational, but I've just backed way off of it in the last few years, and I feel kind of happier for it. And I like Instagram. Actually, I like it a lot, and I like to post like pictures because it's easy and it's not like my words go in my books. I don't know what I have to say, you know? And so for me, like, yeah, if I can like actually I posted more when I was on vacation because I had pictures and I left my house. So I had like things to post, but I was like, during the pandemic, especially, I was like, I haven't been anywhere for months. Like, what am I supposed to say? And like, if I don't have a book out, I don't have anything to say, you know? So it's like, so I don't. And I'm like too much of a control freak to have someone do it for me.
Do it.
So I'm like, it's an impossible situation in that I'm like, well, then I forget to post sometimes.
Right. I think it's really hard. I am an extremely private person, and my family is really private. So putting myself out there in you know, it's like I like the connection some of the time, but it also doesn't come naturally to me. Although we also we foster kittens, and I mean, I will say that's like the boon of social media is, I mean, I can put kitten posts out there because they are always doing adorable things. So I definitely use that. But then I also like when a reader reaches out or comments on something, it means a ton, especially in this time when we haven't been at, or even doing something like this, or, when there aren't author reader events or, the national conference or whatever. I'm like, oh gosh, I need some connection there. So what about you, Naima?
I usually post on social media, like before I write. I try to, and then I try to like schedule posts, because like it makes seem like it comes naturally for me, but it doesn't. And I think it doesn't just because I'm just such a shy person. Like, I'm just such an introvert. So it's like I really have to think about, it's like, okay, unless something just happens really funny with my family, and like I only have a professional page, like for I don't have a personal page, but sometimes I might post something funny that happens, like with my daughter, like when she called something song from the 80s, like saying, well, I don't know, it is from the 20s, and I'm like, like, really? Really, John Bon Jovi from the 20s? So like things like that. But usually I need, like, I try to like schedule them, or so I try to be consistent, but at first I was trying to do everything social, like all the social platforms, but then I had to cut back, I had to cut some of it out because some of it was just too toxic for me. And so really I just concentrate on Instagram and Facebook now. So those are just my two. And yeah, I just post, but then there are a couple, I don't post on weekends really because that's my time. So I really just do Monday through Friday. And sometimes I miss some of those days because I just don't have anything to say.
Yeah,
You
I'd
know?
rather wait and say something like authentic or that I want to engage with people on than,
And if I like
should
post
say-
funny memes, because sometimes those memes I think are just hilarious, so I'll do that. But and then I get tired of just doing like, just buy this, buy, and that's like a careful balance for me. And I worry about, I don't want to just post that, but then I'm like, okay, I'm not that interested. So like, so I try to work it as best as I can. And that's all I can say. That's all I can do.
Like, I like posting about, like, I guess this is for me, I'm like, I would actually say that I'm pretty private. I think that like I post certain things online in it, like there are things I'm comfortable saying about my family or whatever, and
Yeah.
things that I'm not. And especially as kids get older, I'm
Right.
like, I don't want to post their pictures without asking. So I have to like ask every time I do it and all that kind of stuff because they're teenagers. So it's like, well, now it's like, well, do you want that out there? My husband is a musician, so I'm like, whatever. He has his own stuff and he's not shy. So like his name, whatever, he's totally fine with that because he is also like on the internet and is a musician and so has kind of a public state. So he's easy and I can like throw it. Harlequin did tell me one time, they were like, when you post your husband, you get a lot of engagement. I was like, yes, I know. Everybody loves him. He's cute, but it's I love him. But I'm like, there are things like that feel like natural though, like where it's like it's funny because he'll like join in and do a thing and then that feels good. But otherwise, it's like I'm most comfortable talking about my stories, and not myself, because I'm like, that for me is like why I'm here, because like I'm not really on a personal social media either. Like I have a private like personal Facebook where I just post pictures of my kids for family that doesn't live near me, and so like I'm comfortable talking about books and I love to hear from readers. Like I love that part of it. It's the like I'm like but I don't want to be the center of attention.
Right.
So that's the part that I'm like, I'm not posting all about me or all my opinions or all like being in a like, unless something just naturally comes up that I think is funny or whatever, and I'll put it on a reel or whatever on Instagram. But it's like, yeah, that just has to kind of just happen because it's like that's the thing that I'm like, I don't really want to like put myself out there.
Yeah, it's
okay, so we're at the
natural for me.
Yeah, I get it. We're at the end of the hour, which went by really, really quickly. So thank you. Both of you, tell everybody what you have coming out next. What's the rest of 2021 hold for you book-wise?
Oh, Maisey, you go first because you got a list.
Right.
Well, I didn't know we were going to do all of them. Now I have to go to Amazon. I'm not kidding. Or maybe I'm like,
no.
Well, no, I know that I have the no, I forgot the name of the book. I'm so terrible. It's a Christmas one. It's got Christmas and cowboy in the title. And it's so at the end of October, there's the Rodeo Christmas at Evergreen Ranch. It doesn't even have cowboy in it. And then at the end of December, I have The True Cowboy of Sunset Ridge. So those are the last two books so far that I have planned in my Gold Valley series. And then I'm moving to a new series, but it's also spinoff. So just continuing, going in a big circle. And so I have those. And then I have a presents out in September that's called something, but you'll see it. It'll have my name on it. It's out in September. It's a present. And then there's a desire out in November, I think. And in total,
also have your name on it.
It will, and so you'll know it's mine because it will say my name. Rancher's Christmas Storm. which is now, it is an October book now, so it's out at the end of September. In total fairness to me, all the release dates got moved, which you guys probably know.
Yeah.
Because of that new thing for mass market coming out. All of them are at the end of the month. So I did have some books get bumped to different months. So that is, I'm gonna pretend that's why I don't know.
We're going with it. We're going with it.
Yeah, so then I have
I'm gonna go with it.
so that's the whole last part of 2021 for me. There's a couple of, I think I have another, I think I have a Christmas Presents too.
Wow.
Christmas baby something.
Gosh, why did we let her go first?
My need a lot of time. She's
So
gonna need a lot of time.
and look for my name in the next months. You'll probably see it. So if you like cowboys or you like princes, odds are one will be there.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's me. Go.
Sure. Okay, Naima, you go. You follow that up. Good luck.
I'm going to try. I mean, it's not going to be as many though. I have a desire called Secrets of a One Night Stand, and it's the second book in the Billionaires of Boston series, and that comes out at the end of August. And in September, I have the second novella in the Rosebud series, comes out. It's A Kiss to Remember. And then I have my first Christmas single title, and that's Christmas in Rosebud, and that's in October. And then I think at the end of December, because it was formerly January, but because of the whole pushback thing, the third book in the Billionaires of Boston series, A Desire, and it's called The Perfect Fake Date. So you guess what that's about.
Yeah. I like it. Okay, well, I really should have gone first because now no, so I just have one more single title this year. I can't remember, Mistletoe Season, and it's the second in the Carolina Girls, and then a novella, A Carolina Christmas, and then just one special edition that is kicking off the 2022 Fortunes of Texas, but it'll come out in December. So yeah, so
okay, we're all packed.
we're
I
getting
was gonna say, come on, that was a lot for
Yeah, I
everybody.
know. She said just one. I'm like,
Come on.
well, just one big one and then some other, they're short. So.
I think we're all sharing shelves, actually, pretty much in
yeah.
tandem.
Awesome. That's awesome. We'll be hanging out in person on the bookshelves.
That's right. I'm gonna go take a picture at Barnes and Nobles and just move us all together.
Exactly. Okay, well, thank you to everybody. We had a great amount of questions, and thank you to everybody for coming and you ladies for being together. I can't wait till we can do something in person, but this was really lovely. So
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.